If you want your life to change, you must first change the way you live. Not someday. Not when conditions improve. Not when motivation magically appears. Change begins the moment you decide that your current habits, thoughts, and standards are no longer good enough for the future you desire. Life doesn't respond to wishful thinking. It responds to direction. And direction comes from the choices you make when no one is watching, how you spend your mornings, what you tolerate, what you pursue, and what you walk away from. Success isn't a sudden event. It's a quiet accumulation of daily disciplines practiced over time. Small daily decisions quietly shape the direction of life in ways most people never stop to notice. Life rarely changes in dramatic, overnight moments. It changes inch by inch, choice by choice, habit by habit. The direction you are moving today is not determined by one big decision you made years ago, but by the small decisions you repeat every single day. What you do consistently matters far more than what you do occasionally. Every morning presents simple choices that seem insignificant at the time. Whether you wake up with intention or hit the snooze button. Whether you feed your mind with something that builds you or something that distracts you. Whether you take responsibility for your actions or look for something or someone to blame. These choices feel small, almost harmless, but they are powerful because they are repeated. Over time, repetition turns decisions into habits, and habits quietly create your lifestyle. Most people underestimate the power of these daily choices because the results don't show up immediately. Skipping discipline today doesn't ruin your life tomorrow. Neglecting learning for a week doesn't make you ignorant overnight. Poor choices are patient. They wait. They accumulate interest. And one day, people wake up wondering how they ended up where they are, not realizing they've been voting for that life with their daily decisions for years. The same principle works in the opposite direction. Small positive decisions don't create instant success either. Reading a few pages today won't make you wise tomorrow. Exercising once won't transform your health. Saving a little money won't make you wealthy next month. But done consistently, these small actions begin to compound. They start working for you quietly, behind the scenes, until one day progress becomes visible and people call it luck. The danger is not the big mistakes we fear. The danger is the small neglects we excuse. Saying, "Doesn't matter today," is one of the most expensive thoughts a person can have. Today always matters because today is where habits are formed. Life is lived in days, not decades. You don't wake up one morning and suddenly have a successful life or a failed one. You arrive there gradually, guided by the small decisions you made when the stakes seemed low. Your daily choices reflect your philosophy about life. If you believe that effort doesn't matter, your decisions will reflect that belief. If you believe that growth is optional, your habits will confirm it. But if you decide that progress is non-negotiable, your daily actions begin to change. You start doing small things with care because you understand that consistency beats intensity. You stop waiting for motivation and start relying on discipline, knowing that discipline weighs ounces while regret weighs tons. The quiet power of daily decisions lies in their ability to shape identity. What you do every day eventually becomes who you are. If you choose learning daily, you become a learner. If you choose excuses daily, you become someone who explains rather than improves. If you choose effort daily, you become capable. Identity is not declared. It is demonstrated through repetition. People often ask for a breakthrough, but what they really need is a better routine. Breakthroughs come from breakdowns in old patterns. Change doesn't require heroic effort. It requires honest awareness, paying attention to what you do when no one is watching, examining the small choices you've been making automatically, questioning whether those choices are taking you closer to the life you want or quietly leading you away from it. Once you understand this, you stop despising small beginnings. You realize that greatness grows from ordinary days handled with discipline. You begin to respect the power of showing up even when progress feels invisible. You understand that every small decision is a vote for the kind of future you are building, and whether you are aware of it or not, those votes are being counted every single day. Personal responsibility is the starting point of real change because nothing meaningful improves until someone decides to own their life completely. As long as a person believes their circumstances are the cause of their situation, they remain powerless to improve it. Blame may feel comforting, but it quietly robs people of control. The moment responsibility is accepted, power is restored, because responsibility places the steering wheel of life back into your own hands. Many people wait for conditions to change before they commit to change themselves. They wait for more money, more time, more support, or more motivation. But life does not reward waiting, it rewards ownership. When you take responsibility, you stop asking, "Why did this happen to me?" and start asking, "What can I do with what I have?" That single shift in thinking separates those who grow from those who remain stuck. Responsibility does not mean blaming yourself for everything that goes wrong. It means recognizing that regardless of what happens, your response is yours to choose. You may not control the weather, the economy, or other people's decisions, but you do control your attitude, your effort, and your standards. When you accept this, excuses lose their grip. You stop wasting energy explaining your problems and start investing energy in solving them. Without responsibility, change is always postponed. People say they will improve when circumstances improve, but circumstances rarely improve on their own. Life responds to leadership, and the first person you must lead is yourself. Taking responsibility means deciding that your future is too important to leave in the hands of chance, habit, or other people's opinions. It means choosing to act even when it's uncomfortable, inconvenient, or unfamiliar. Personal responsibility also raises your standards. When you stop blaming others, you start expecting more from yourself. You pay attention to how you spend your time, how you speak to yourself, and how you follow through on commitments. You realize that self-respect grows from keeping promises to yourself, especially the small ones. Each responsible choice strengthens confidence because confidence is built through evidence, not encouragement. Many people misunderstand responsibility as pressure, but it is actually freedom. When you accept responsibility, you gain the freedom to change. If something is your fault, it is also your opportunity. If your habits created your current situation, then new habits can create a better one. Responsibility turns setbacks into lessons and failures into feedback instead of final verdicts on your ability. Growth accelerates when responsibility becomes a habit. Instead of reacting emotionally, you respond thoughtfully. Instead of complaining, you ask better questions. Instead of avoiding challenges, you step into them knowing that discomfort is often the price of progress. Responsibility sharpens awareness. You begin to notice patterns in your behavior, results in your actions, and consequences in your choices. The strongest form of responsibility is self-discipline. Doing what needs to be done long after the mood has passed. Holding yourself accountable when no one is watching. Choosing long-term benefit over short-term comfort. Discipline is not punishment, it is self-respect in action. It is the daily demonstration that you are serious about the life you want to build. When responsibility is embraced, blame disappears, and with it goes bitterness, frustration, and helplessness. Life becomes something you participate in rather than something that happens to you. You stop seeing yourself as a victim of circumstance and start seeing yourself as a student of life, learning, adjusting, and improving as you go. Personal responsibility does not guarantee an easy life, but it guarantees a meaningful one. It builds resilience, clarity, and direction. It gives you the courage to face reality without denial and the strength to improve it without excuses. Once you fully accept responsibility for your choices, your habits, and your responses, change is no longer something you hope for, but something you actively create every single day. Circumstances don't change life, choices do, because the same situation can produce completely different results depending on the decisions made within it. Two people can start in the same environment, face the same limitations, and experience the same setbacks, yet end up in entirely different places. The difference is rarely luck or intelligence. It is the choices they make when life presents pressure, uncertainty, or opportunity. Most people give circumstances too much power. They say their background held them back, their resources were limited, or the timing was wrong. While these factors influence the starting point, they do not dictate the final destination. Circumstances may shape the battlefield, but choices determine the outcome. When people believe their environment controls their future, they stop looking for solutions and start collecting reasons. Life constantly tests decision-making, often in subtle ways. It asks whether you will respond with patience or frustration, action or avoidance, growth or comfort. In difficult circumstances, choices are magnified because they reveal character. Pressure does not create weakness, it exposes it. In the same way, pressure does not create strength, it reveals it. What you choose under pressure becomes a preview of where your life is heading. Many people wait for circumstances to improve before making better choices, but that approach keeps them stuck. Better choices are what improve circumstances. Waiting for perfect conditions is like waiting for the wind to stop before sailing. Progress begins the moment you decide to act with wisdom regardless of how things look. History is full of people who built extraordinary lives in ordinary, even unfavorable, conditions by refusing to let circumstances dictate their behavior. Circumstances are temporary, but choices have lasting consequences. A bad situation handled well can become a stepping stone. A good situation handled poorly can become a setback. This is why comfort can be just as dangerous as hardship. When circumstances are easy, poor choices are often hidden because consequences are delayed. When times are hard, every choice counts, and the cost of poor decisions becomes obvious. Your response to circumstances reveals your personal philosophy. If you believe life is unfair and you are powerless, your choices will reflect that belief. If you believe growth is possible regardless of conditions, your actions will reflect resilience. The mind always looks for evidence to support what it believes, and choices follow those beliefs faithfully. One of the most empowering realizations a person can have is that while they may not control what happens, they always control how they respond. Response is the space where freedom lives. In that space, you decide whether to complain or create, retreat or advance, blame or learn, that decision, repeated daily, becomes a pattern, and patterns shape destiny. People often ask how to change their circumstances, but the better question is how to change their decision-making. When choices improve, circumstances eventually follow. This does not mean progress is immediate. It means it is inevitable if choices remain consistent. Small, wise decisions made in poor circumstances will eventually produce better ones. Small, foolish decisions made in good circumstances will eventually destroy them. Circumstances test values. When faced with difficulty, you choose whether to compromise or stand firm. When faced with opportunity, you choose whether to grow or indulge. These choices are quiet, often unseen by others, but they accumulate powerfully. Over time, they determine the quality of your character and the direction of your life. When you stop blaming circumstances and start examining choices, clarity appears. You see where you have been reacting instead of deciding. You recognize moments where you surrendered control by default. This awareness is not meant to create guilt, but responsibility. Once you see the pattern, you gain the ability to interrupt it. Life improves not when circumstances change, but when decision-making changes. The moment you choose discipline over distraction, growth over comfort, and responsibility over excuses, you reclaim control. Circumstances may continue to rise and fall, but your direction becomes steady, guided by deliberate choices rather than temporary conditions. Discipline today creates freedom tomorrow because every act of self-control is a quiet investment in a better future. Most people search for freedom in comfort, ease, and escape from responsibility. But true freedom is built through structure, effort, and commitment. What feels restrictive in the moment often becomes liberating over time, while what feels easy today often becomes limiting later. Discipline is the ability to do what needs to be done, even when you don't feel like doing it. It is choosing long-term benefit over short-term pleasure. In the early stages, discipline feels heavy because it demands effort and consistency without immediate reward. But over time, that effort compounds, creating options, confidence, and control over your life. A disciplined person gains freedom of choice. When you manage your time well, you gain the freedom to decide how to use it. When you manage your finances responsibly, you gain the freedom from constant stress and dependence. When you discipline your body, you gain energy, mobility, and health that allow you to live fully. Discipline does not take freedom away, it multiplies it. The lack of discipline always demands payment later. Neglected health demands time in recovery. Poor financial habits demand years of stress. Avoided learning demands limited opportunity. These costs rarely show up immediately, which is why indiscipline feels harmless in the moment. But the bill always arrives, and it is often much larger than the original effort would have been. Discipline also creates inner freedom. When you keep promises to yourself, self-trust grows. You stop battling guilt, frustration, and regret because your actions align with your values. Mental freedom comes from knowing you are handling your responsibilities instead of avoiding them. This clarity reduces anxiety and builds calm confidence. Many people confuse discipline with punishment, but discipline is an expression of self-respect. It says, your future matters enough to endure discomfort today. It is not about harshness, it is about direction. A disciplined life is not rigid, but intentional. It allows enjoyment without excess and rest without regret. Freedom without discipline quickly turns into chaos. Unlimited choices without structure lead to confusion, inconsistency, and dependence on mood. Discipline provides boundaries that protect progress. Within those boundaries, creativity, growth, and enjoyment thrive. Just as a river gains power from its banks, life gains strength from discipline. The early results of discipline are often invisible. You may not see immediate change in income, health, or skill, but something important is happening beneath the surface. You are becoming capable. You are building reliability. You are shaping identity. Over time, these internal changes produce external results that others admire but rarely understand. Discipline also prepares you for opportunity. When opportunity arrives, disciplined people are ready. They have the habits, skills, and resilience to act. Undisciplined people often miss opportunities because they lack the preparation to take advantage of them. Preparation is freedom in advance. There is a moment in life when people realize that what they avoided earlier now limits them. Time, energy, and options narrow when discipline is absent. On the other hand, those who practice discipline early often experience expansion later. Their choices increase because their foundations are strong. The simplest disciplines practiced daily create the greatest freedom. Waking up with intention, learning consistently, managing emotions, and following through on commitments may seem ordinary, but they quietly shape an extraordinary life. Each disciplined act is a vote for independence, capability, and self-mastery. Discipline today is not about denying joy, it is about designing it. The effort you invest now determines the options you will have later. When discipline becomes a habit, freedom stops being a dream and starts becoming a natural result of how you live every day. Growth begins the moment excuses end, because as long as a person explains why they cannot change, they delay the very change they claim to want. Excuses are subtle. They often sound reasonable, logical, and even responsible. They disguise themselves as circumstances, timing, or fairness, but their real function is to protect comfort and avoid accountability. The moment excuses are accepted, progress is postponed. Most people do not lack potential, they lack honesty with themselves. They say they would improve if they had more time, more support, or more confidence. But time is always limited, support is never perfect, and confidence is built through action, not waiting. Excuses create the illusion that growth is impossible now, pushing responsibility into the future where it never arrives. Excuses are dangerous because they feel harmless. Saying, "not today," seems small, but repeated often, it becomes a lifestyle. Each excuse strengthens the habit of avoidance and weakens the habit of effort. Over time, people stop expecting much from themselves and life responds accordingly. Standards drop quietly and potential remains unused. The end of excuses is not the beginning of harsh self-criticism, it is the beginning of clarity. When excuses end, truth begins. You see where you have been inconsistent, where you have chosen comfort over progress, and where fear has disguised itself as logic. This awareness is uncomfortable, but it is necessary. Growth requires seeing reality clearly, not favorably. Excuses often exist to protect identity. People fear that if they fail after trying, it will say something negative about who they are. So they avoid trying fully and keep an excuse ready as protection. But real confidence is not built by avoiding failure. It is built by facing it and learning from it. When excuses end, courage takes their place. Once excuses are removed, action becomes possible. You stop waiting for perfect conditions and start working with what you have. You realize that imperfect action creates more progress than perfect intentions. Growth is not about dramatic transformation. It is about consistent movement in the right direction. Excuses also distort responsibility. They shift focus outward instead of inward. When growth begins, responsibility returns. You stop asking what others should do and start asking what you can do better. This shift is powerful because it restores control. You may not control outcomes, but you always control effort. Ending excuses raises personal standards. You stop lowering expectations to match behavior and start raising behavior to match expectations. This alignment creates self-respect. Each time you follow through without an excuse, trust in yourself grows. That trust becomes the foundation for bigger goals and stronger commitment. Many people mistake excuses for realism. They say they are just being practical, but practicality without effort becomes limitation. Growth does not require denial of reality. It requires responsibility within it. Honest assessment plus committed action is the formula for progress. The process of ending excuses is ongoing. They return in new forms at higher levels of growth. The challenge is to recognize them quickly and replace them with better questions. Instead of asking why something is hard, you ask how it can be done. Instead of explaining delay, you define the next step. When excuses end, learning accelerates. Mistakes become feedback instead of failure. Challenges become training instead of threats. You become more resilient because you stop protecting ego and start developing ability. Growth thrives in this environment because effort is no longer conditional. Life responds differently to people who take responsibility without excuses. Opportunities increase because reliability increases. Respect grows because follow-through becomes consistent. Confidence deepens because it is earned. The end of excuses is not about pressure, it is about freedom. Freedom from self-deception, freedom from stagnation, and freedom to become who you are capable of becoming. A changed philosophy leads to a changed future because the way you interpret life determines how you live it. Philosophy is not something reserved for books or classrooms. It is the collection of beliefs, assumptions, and attitudes you carry into every situation. Whether you realize it or not, your philosophy guides your decisions, shapes your habits, and influences the results you experience. Change the philosophy, and behavior changes naturally. Change behavior consistently, and the future begins to look different. Most people try to change results without changing the thinking that produced them. They want better outcomes, but hold on to the same beliefs about effort, responsibility, and possibility. This creates frustration because life always reflects the philosophy behind the actions. If someone believes success should be easy, they will resist discipline. If someone believes they are unlucky, they will overlook opportunity. The future becomes a predictable extension of those beliefs. Philosophy determines what you notice and what you ignore. Two people can hear the same advice, face the same challenge, and receive the same opportunity, yet respond completely differently. One sees a burden, the other sees a chance to grow. One complains, the other commits. The difference is not intelligence or talent, but interpretation. Philosophy acts like a filter through which life is experienced. When philosophy changes, responsibility increases. You stop expecting life to adjust to you and start adjusting yourself to life. You accept that progress requires effort and that results are earned, not given. This shift is powerful because it removes entitlement and replaces it with ownership. You no longer wait for fairness, you prepare for growth. A strong philosophy values discipline over comfort and learning over ego. It understands that setbacks are part of the process, not signs to quit. With this mindset, challenges lose their power to discourage. Instead of asking why things are difficult, you ask what the difficulty is teaching you. This perspective transforms obstacles into tools for development. Many people inherit their philosophy unconsciously from their environment. Family, culture, and past experiences quietly shape beliefs about money, work, relationships, and success. If those beliefs go unexamined, they limit progress without being questioned. Growth begins when you challenge assumptions and decide which beliefs deserve to stay and which must be replaced. A changed philosophy also alters standards. You stop settling for what is easy and start striving for what is meaningful. You raise expectations of effort, consistency, and integrity. Higher standards demand more from you, but they also give more back. They create pride, self-respect, and momentum. When philosophy shifts, motivation becomes less necessary because commitment takes its place. You no longer rely on feeling inspired to act. You act because it aligns with who you are becoming. This stability creates consistency, and consistency builds results that last. The future is not shaped by hopes, but by patterns. Philosophy shapes patterns by influencing daily decisions. When beliefs change, choices change. When choices change, habits change. When habits change, direction changes. Over time, this new direction produces a future that once seemed out of reach. A changed philosophy also brings patience. You understand that meaningful progress takes time, and that growth is often invisible before it becomes obvious. This patience prevents quitting too early and keeps effort steady. You stop measuring success by speed and start measuring it by direction. Life becomes clearer when philosophy is aligned with reality. You stop resisting effort, stop blaming circumstances, and stop expecting shortcuts. In their place comes focus, resilience, and purposeful action. You become someone who responds thoughtfully rather than reactively. The most powerful changes in life begin internally. When you change the way you think about work, responsibility, learning, and effort, the external world gradually responds. Opportunities appear where you once saw limits. Progress replaces frustration. The future reshapes itself, not through luck or chance, but through a deliberate shift in philosophy that guides how you live every day.